Let's talk about love, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Let's talk about love. I've said on many occasions that I don't believe in the word love, or mostly when love is bounded around in so many varying and nuanced ways, like to love ice cream, to love chocolate, to love going on holiday, all those sort of things. It takes away the respect, the very essence, the beauty, the power of love, if we're going to be using it so frivolously. Now, as I sit here now, with a beautiful, calm disposition, feeling perfect, health-wise and energy-wise, and the beautiful calm and stillness of my mind with no encumbrance, no pressing engagements, no pressure of life, of things that I have to achieve and adhere to. So when your mind is like that, it is literally heaven. And so in the natural world I experience heaven every day. And in the sun, then it's a remarkable, incredible experience. So it is 8:25 on a Sunday morning, and I was reading for about 30 minutes in my apartment, and it was a bland experience because the sunlight wasn't penetrating into my living room. That doesn't happen until the afternoon, and I'm reading my book again to see it from a different light, and I'm looking at the journey I traversed and all the incredible, wonderful things I've been shown and experiences that I've had and what that has led to. And it's led to a great emancipation from the ego and from the automated human experience. And so I come into this beautiful secret garden, and I'm basking in Ra, the beauty and consciousness and life-giving essence of Ra. And so I thought to speak about love and how I felt this phenomenon in so many varying ways. And so I'm going to speak about some of these ways. And so very, very initially then, when I was 20 years old, I fell in love with the mother of my daughter. I know this wind causes a problem. It spoils the videos, and I don't know how. I suppose if I went way up there, the wind, it seems to be blowing this way. So if I get in this nook, where maybe if I get in here, I think that may be better. Yes. So when I was 20 years old and I fell in love with the mother of my daughter, it was a real love affair. It was this love affair where you're inseparable from each other, and you think each other's thoughts, and you're in complete unity with each other. You've entered into a beautiful, blissful confluence. And we used to put our noses together and look into each other's eyes, and literally we would see oceans, other worlds, and we would both have tears in our eyes at the sheer joy of that experience. Maybe here is better. And maybe if I just put you away for the time being, my friend, gonna tuck you up there. Are we ready? Are we ready to continue? I think we may be. Maybe that's better there. So that experience was the first. And then the second experience of equal magnitude was the birth of our daughter. And the joy, every second, the joy that brought. Incredible. Then, many years later, I took DMT, and in my book I tell a story of how one day when I was 27 years old, the Jehovah's Witnesses came knocking on my door, and they gave me some books. I've told the story before, so I won't labour it now. And on these books that they give you with illustrations in, they had these faces of the people who had found God, and they were caricatures of an emotion and an expression on human faces that I have never actually seen in reality. And so I seriously questioned the depiction of these ecstatic human beings, and having contemplated them for some time, I had mixed feelings. One of the feelings was that I was really intrigued as to how anybody could actually, in reality, be that ecstatically in a state of ecstasy. Oh my goodness. And the other mixed emotion was that how the artist had conjured up that expression which didn't pertain to the human being, and it was being used by these Jehovah's Witnesses, and I considered it to be fraud, and I held resentment for that. I'm like, you are selling a lie. Nobody could look like that. And the faces were just, it's kind of like, they were like, you know, you couldn't live like that. You absolutely couldn't live like that, because it's like, literally, you've seen Jesus floating in the sky. That's how these pictures were depicted. And it was male and female and children alike. And so, it was many years later when I took DMT, and I had the exact expression on my face, and I was filled with this level of ecstasy which I'd never even come close to in my life, even when I was madly in love with the mother of my daughter, and then our daughter was born. And can you imagine, these are wonderful, incredible things. But when I took this DMT on a beautiful sunny day like this, I was actually in heaven. I was ecstatic beyond measure, and my face, I could feel my face exactly the same as these Jehovah's Witnesses faces. And the memory came back from all those years ago, 20 odd years. The memory came back, and I was like, wow, there actually is a place we can be in our consciousness which is exactly the same as depicted in those illustrations. And that was a very, very profound moment for me. And I suppose it's one of the reasons why I've pursued this religious, spiritual, Christian thing for so long, so deeply, so profoundly, so intently, so obsessively, for all these years. And it really is a thing. It really is a thing, people. Maybe not to that level of ecstasy on a continuous basis, because you couldn't live there. But every time I take DMT, I get my brain flushed with serotonin, because DMT is almost exactly the same as serotonin molecularly. And it just takes away the ego and leaves you with all this serotonin in your brain to look at the world about you. And of course, your experience is going to be highly dependent on your environment. And so I always ensure that I'm doing this substance on a beautiful day like today, or at night time to get a different experience, or when there's a big thick blanket of snow on the ground, or when it's very frosty. You see, I like to take this substance and see what the DMT shows me when the world is in a particular way. And it's very remarkable when you see the world like this, on this substance. And so the next major experience of this love was when I was in Bulgaria, in the early days of my meditation, maybe about 3 years in. And I was in my apartment, and I was meditating for about 3 hours. And I was listening to this 432 hertz music over and over and over and over and over. You know, you can get them 8 hours long. So I just sat there, and I was in such a state of bliss. It was during the winter, or, you know, I think it was winter, and the sun was penetrating my window, and it was on my face, and I was fully enjoying that experience. And then what started to happen in this meditation, with this wonderful cosmic music, my body just seemed to melt, and it became glowing, warm and gorgeous, and there was a buzzing and a clarity, and tears streamed down my cheeks as I experienced love, just a level of acceptance and freedom and eternity, and embracing by the cosmos or God or angels, something like that. And I've only ever had 3 occasions in 16 years where that happened, but that was the first and the most memorable. And so I'm thinking, there is something within the human experience which is what is depicted and spoken about as unconditional love and God's love. And so that was way back then. And then moving 10 years forward, I had this this Jesus encounter. No. Before this meditation encounter, I had the encounter with the angels, where I saw this vision of angels, and it was super bliss, and you couldn't want for anything else. And these two angels looked at me and imparted a subliminal message, which I later discovered what it was, also in my book. So then there was the Bulgaria thing, and then when I was back in England, then I was having one of these lying down meditations with the 432 hertz theta realm music on, and when I came out of that after about an hour, then I saw Jesus' face depicted in my tapestry. Then I started to have this spiritual experience, and then Jesus, who I assume, I just knew at the time, intuitive, that it was Jesus. And he said, you know, if you want to know what the unconditional love is, then you have to come through me. And so that, then tears streaming down my cheeks, vibrating, like having an out-of-body experience and all that. And at this time I'm thinking, wow, these things are happening relatively frequently, you know, 3-5 years in between, but throughout my life, since I was like 27 years old, this sort of thing, I've been pondering these things. And so the Jesus thing, that happened, and then subsequent DMT experiences, which just gave me this feeling of walking in heaven. Because when you take DMT on a day like today, in a beautiful realm, I was taking it down in the Algarve in Portugal on beautiful golden beaches with turquoise oceans and fluffy white wild horses running in, you know, which were the waves, and the sun teeming down. And when you take DMT, the sun looks like a kaleidoscope. With all these different colours, which just is incredibly blinding, but you have fleeting views of it, and the colours are just incredible. And the whole world is for you. It's your playground. It's your creation, and it's so much more beautiful than what is anything depicted in the Bible. Because what's depicted in the Bible, in the Old Testament, is a lot of very, very violent and evil shit perpetrated by God. And so I can never get my head around God being that love. And when I had my experience of 3.5 hours where I was chastised by God, he was exactly what he is depicted as in the Old Testament. Very authoritarian, wrathful, potentially evil, demanding, and with a smidgen of love somewhere. A bit like the stern love of a father who's not very emotional, but it will whip you with a belt if you step out of line, and then he'll scuff your hair up and go, well done lad, you know, that's his expression of love. So that's what Jehovah's like. But Jesus is a whole different ballgame. Jesus does actually exhibit unconditional love, and it's the most incredible love I've ever experienced. It was just otherworldly. So getting closer now with these experiences, I suppose with all the myriad of DMT experiences I've had, they've all been much of a muchness, but incredible every single time. But this last experience, when I was in the woods, and I said in this video, which got a very poor response, nobody wants to engage in this sort of rhetoric, but I asked, is Jesus calling me? Because I was still in like 10% residue of the psilocybin, and then when I took the DMT and I experienced the gorgeous, beautiful, unencumbered majesty of this heaven-like earth, when I experienced that, and the beauty of the sun and my body, which I'm entirely, you know, thrilled and content with, I was having a spiritual experience, and I could feel the essence of the unconditional love of Jesus. And I haven't had this prominence of Jesus in any other DMT experience. I get the love, I get all that, the ecstasy, but this time it was different in that Jesus was there. Jesus was all around, and Jesus was calling me. And it's kind of like Jesus took me all the way up into that wood, just so he could show me once again his love, what he has to offer. If only I will open up my heart and my arms and my mind and give myself to him. Well, that's a reservation I have about giving myself and devoting myself. I really struggle with that, and so I don't know where I'm going from here. My whole demeanour and construct has never been given to being devotional to authority, and so I don't want to be under the influence of a authority which I have to comply with to meet the conditions of Jesus' unconditional love. But you know, it says you have to believe in him, and I struggle with belief. It's kind of like, well, I don't like to believe. I don't do belief. I do knowing. Then I ask myself, well, how much more do you need to know about Jesus to feel and know that he's real then? And I'm like, well, I don't know. How much more is there to know? How much more would I be convinced? Would Jesus need to appear to me in a shimmering apparition when I'm absolutely compis mentis, where I couldn't deny the experience, what I saw and felt? Would that need to happen before I would give myself to Jesus? Then I think to myself, well, why do I need to give myself to Jesus? Why can't I just be with Jesus? Why can't Jesus just be with me? After all, Jesus says that, you know, all that what he had done, we can do more. And the kingdom of God is within us all. And, you know, he is no more the Son of God than we are. And if that's the case, well, why do we need to be devotional? Why do we need to worship? I don't do worship and that level of devotion very well. And so I will be happy to accept that Jesus is a thing, because I've experienced that thing so often now. And how long do I want to keep denying it for? And when I had this experience up in this wood, which was absolutely... who's that? Hey! I wonder who this is. Is this my little prod? You see, when they see me and hear me, some of them will come over, right just down there, like they do in the garden, and you know, I often put a few nuts in my bag, and that's a beautiful thing. When you have that connection with nature, they come up to you and they take food out of your hand. It's a very beautiful thing, and it takes nurturing. So the experience I had was a very powerful religious experience where Jesus was there and Jesus was within me. And you know, in the Bible it says, if you invite Jesus into you, then you will also be within Jesus. Jesus will invite you into him. And so there becomes a oneness. And when you look at the reality of that, what does it really mean? It means just being open and accepting and wanting and desiring this representation. You see, Jesus is an archetype for love. And I don't know what other God or spiritual being, maybe other than Krishna, represents this most incredible and beautiful of human experience, this love. And so when people get really devotional about something, then it becomes more and more of a reality. It becomes very embedded in a belief system, doesn't it? And so our thoughts and our beliefs create our reality. So if people pray to Jesus and profess that they love Jesus and really feel that Jesus is protecting them and all that sort of thing, then increasingly, incrementally, that will become so, because we do create our reality. And so I haven't ever been trying to create my reality. I have never been desirous to know God, to be with God, or Jesus to be with me, or anything like that. I've just been seeking out so-called truths, and along my journey, the egregores, those entities, those spirits, they have approached me. I've not overtly, consciously been approaching them, and the last person I would approach would be Yahweh, that insufferable manipulator and demiurge from the Old Testament. I would never approach him, it, and yet it approached me. It spoke with me. It gave me an experience. And as I've said, the angels did also, the devil did also, and Jesus. And so, you know, I've had the whole shebang. Why haven't I had Krishna or Allah or Muhammad or Ganesh or any of those other gods? I feel that I am a representation of Shiva. Shiva, the creator and the destroyer, simultaneously. You know, Shiva is this human-like figure, which is the god, walking in a wheel which is forever turning, and one part of the wheel is spinning this way, another part of the wheel spinning that way. So it's a great paradox, and Shiva creates and destroys at the same time. And that's what I do, that's what my personality does. I'm always creating and destroying at the same time. And so I have a deep affinity with Shiva. And so I don't have any problems with the creator and the destroyer, because that's how the cosmos is. It's the paradox, it's the yin and yang. And because I'm a Libra, that's my nature, and I've done this all of my life. And so I then have no problem about having a confluence and a unity with Shiva. You know, gods like Krishna, they're not in my culture. I don't know that much about them. You see, those Eastern gods are not in our Western-oriented collective unconscious. We are always having the propensity to engage with the gods which are within our collective unconscious, and they have been passed down to us via our genetics, via our genetic unconscious. You see, there is such a thing, people, and you know, currently there's scientists, psychologists, which you know, have discovered that the offspring of the Jews, as from the Second World War, genetically suffer from the persecutory personality disorder, the tests, the examinations have been conclusive, apparently, that even, you know, third generations after the advent of the Holocaust, offspring who never have experienced anything like that feel this energy in their psyche, and they act as if they themselves had been persecuted. It's a collective unconscious thing, whereby the Jews have always been persecuted, and I'm not saying it's not for very good reason, because I most certainly believe that it is, because every country on the planet that's been acquainted with the Jew has always expelled them, because they get up to nefarious machinations, and they are very often parasitical, and they will enter into all the positions of power, and then they will keep all the money to themselves, and they will bleed their hosts dry. Now, if we know anything about that particular group of people today, we know via the depiction of Scrooge with his fingerless money-counting fingers, and how many stories have you heard about the money exchanges, and, you know, all this business throughout, you know, millennia, and usury. The art of lending money for interest was invented by the Jews. And it's significant to notice that they don't impose this interest on any of the loans that they loan each other. They only charge interest, ladies and gentlemen, on the Goyim, on the Gentiles. They don't charge interest to each other. So that says it all, doesn't it? Rules for one and rules for another. Anyway, I've digressed. So this last experience, very profound, of Jesus is psychologically calling me, and I don't know what to do about that. And I suppose I'll just continue on the trajectory I'm on, reading and meditating and you know, taking entheogens, and being open. I did go through a stint where I tried to see what the efficacy of prayer was, and it is actually a phenomenon that does appear to work, and I write about this also in my book, people. I mention my book all the time is because it really is chock-a-block with very, very powerful stuff for those of you who are on the spiritual path. And you know, I get less than £5 return on each copy, so unless I sell thousands of those books, it's never going to make any difference to me. So my motivation isn't because I want to extract money from you. It's because I want to share this information with people who potentially could find it very valuable. That's what my channel for this past 16 years has been about. It's been about offering the opportunity for the personal evolution of my viewers. So as I sit here now, and it's ironic that I'm sitting in the garden of a church. I mean, is that just coincidence? Is that just by chance? It's not coincidence and by chance that I feel comfortable here, because I wouldn't do this in any other public park or any public park. Because you've always got screaming kids and people walking the dogs, and you know, over the years in any public park you've got a residue of dog shit. Even though most people pick it up, you've still got a residue which blankets the whole park. And I like to go barefoot and do yoga on the soft grass, and so I would never do it there. And plus, you know, there isn't the energy on these parks. There is a dead automaton energy. There's a matrixal energy in places like this with these beautiful old churches. There is a stillness, there's a calmness, there is a sacredness, there is a beautiful energy which hasn't been defiled by the traipsing around of automated drones. You see, these sacred grounds, people, like when I go into these out of bounds regions in these national parks, they haven't had humans traipsing through them in many, many years, close on 100 years. And so there's a very special energy there. And I've been lots of places in my life where there's very special energy. And the most special energy is when you go into the oldest forestations, where everything is absolutely natural, and you know, humans just haven't traversed through. And so you go into these environments, and the energy, the spirit is thick in the air. It's remarkable. And all these woods I go in, I'm very like, let's say, empathic now to the energy of environments, and the energy changes from space to space, field to field, wood to wood, depending on the age and variety of the trees. And then when we take psilocybin in these woods, the older trees will speak to you, whereas the younger ones won't. I've never had a wood of pine trees speak with me. There's been an aura, and it's not been a very pleasant one. Whereas in the more established woods, where you've got, you know, trees 3, 4, 500 years old, they actually communicate with you. And there's a very, very energy like presence of elderly trees. They are very, very old and wise, and they speak to you like that. Well, that was a damselfly, I do believe. I had a butterfly land on me a day or two ago, and then it came back and it landed on me again, and it's nice when that happens. So yes, this love thing, there is this feeling. And another occasion is when I entered into samadhi. When you enter into samadhi, which is the oneness, when the ego goes completely offline, then the world appears like heaven, and there is this presence of God who loves you and says to you, you intuit that the world has been created for you. When I was in this samadhi on a particular occasion, watching the sun and the big clouds like today, the whole thing was, this is for you. This is for you. If you can tap into this level of blissness, then you can experience this all the time. And how many times have we heard when these gurus speak about such things, or even just laypersons, they speak about having these moments of bliss, these samadhis, when the ego just dissolves, and we all just want to get back so badly. But you see, if you do all the correct things, you do your meditations and you do your exercise and your diet and your studying, and I suppose praying. I suppose praying does work, because I did pray to Jesus for several months just to see what the efficacy of it was. I don't like to discount anything, I don't like to deny anything, I don't like to dismiss anything. I like to myth bust, and I like to give things the benefit of the doubt, and I did. And I noticed significance. And when I asked them for revelations, signs, not signs, oh, give me a sign to show me that you're here, God. No. I ask for help with discerning what certain things are. And I asked God on one occasion whilst I was out under the clouds, could he explain to me what the difference was between belief and faith. And that instant I looked into the clouds and I saw a cloud formation that I'd never ever seen before in my life. It was most unnatural, and it was the shape of a bridge or a D. An upturned D like this, and the cloud was all around and along the bottom, the flat edge. And I looked up, and then instantly a dialogue started telling me the difference between belief and faith is that belief is like a bridge. Belief is like a canyon with a very strong current of water running through it. Now, if you are an able-bodied swimmer and you're young and you're strong, then you may have the belief that you can traverse that canyon. Whereas belief is knowing that you can traverse that canyon via the bridge. You see, so let me just get that perfectly clear again, people. I was given this illustration, and instantly I had this rapid fire dialogue which told me, went on for literally 30 seconds, and it was absolutely explicit in what it said. Belief is if you are able-bodied, and had all the confidence, you would believe that you could cross this canyon of very rapid, tumultuous water if you was a good swimmer and everything. But the belief, you see, is fallible, because the belief often, the beliefs are proven to be wrong, aren't they? You see, we could say that we believe we're going to be a millionaire, or we believe our love's going to last forever, or we believe that our business is going to be successful. And then when all these things turn out not to be so, it proves that our beliefs were erroneous. So belief very often can be erroneous. So that's why in the Bible they use faith, because faith can never be proven to be wrong. Now let me illustrate. You swim over the water, maybe you'll get there, maybe you won't. However, faith is the bridge over the water, and as long as the bridge is there, and we're assuming it is because that's the nature of faith, the bridge is always there, so therefore you will always be able to cross over. Now, the faith is that you can cross over this bridge, but there's no defining how long the bridge is. And that's the thing, people, because faith never ends. Faith can't end, because the very nature of faith is that it has to continue, because faith means that you are hoping, you're desiring, you're putting your faith into something, you are having a super belief and confidence, and you're banking everything on something being a reality. So you will be traversing this bridge into the promised land, getting closer and closer to God via your faith. The bridge is faith, and the bridge, will go on for as long as it takes for you to really get into the kingdom of God. And so that's what Spirit told me. How does that work? And then the very next day, somebody gave me a Buddhist book which said something very, very similar. And I'm like, thank you. This stuff does happen, people. It absolutely does happen. And there was another occasion that I wanted to know what the efficacy of confession was, and whether we need to go to a Catholic priest to be forgiven, or to have God hear our confessions. And I considered that we don't need to do that. If the kingdom of God is within us all, and if we can do all that Jesus did, then we don't need a Catholic priest. We don't need to go to a church. We just go direct to the man. And so I confessed direct to the man. And in an instant, when I confessed my transgressions, whatever they may be, that gave me powerful negative feelings, when I confessed them, those feelings just vanished, and they've never come back. And that was just with one confession, truly from your heart, believing that your confession will be heard. And I say believing because it may not have been heard, but I was hoping that it was, and I was investing in what I was doing as being the portal to being accepted. I didn't have faith because it wasn't an ongoing thing. If you're going to have faith, you're going to need to be confessing every single day, and having faith that tomorrow your confessions will be accepted, and the next day, because you're so corrupt, you keep contravening God's laws, and so therefore you would need faith that you're going to be saved by Jesus, even though you are an abject sinner. But I don't consider I'm a sinner. I consider I live a very wholesome life. I'm not using anyone, I'm not abusing anyone, I'm not stealing from anyone, I'm not causing anyone any pain or any suffering. If Supercilious comes around, then there is a good spirit behind Supercilious. He's not malicious. He has good intentions. It's just different tactics to get to different people, to penetrate people's egos, which are so firm and solid and convinced with their own dogma, you see. Anyway, people, I think I've said what I wanted to say. Now I'm going to take my shirt off, and I'm going to continue to read Closer to God, A Journey to the Self, because that's what I am, and that's what I'm doing. Are you? What are you doing? What journey are you on? Who are you close to?